So we talk about stuff, and this is funny, because we talk about stuff in production, this, that, and the other thing, coming down here to Tampa, and then these guys are like, hey, do you want to film in Tampa? I'm like, of all places, you know what I'm saying? I think I know a few good people down there, you know?
Yeah.
And
It's like
Derek,
you got a lottery ticket there.
we did.
Wow.
Yeah, there
I
you
know
go.
somebody in Tampa.
I think that was 3 sevens on a slot machine.
Yeah, there you go, baby.
He's like, I think I know somebody in Tampa. So, I mean, people don't know Derek, and I met Derek actually on a boat, believe it or not, and fishing, different type of fishing, but like on a boat, having fun. We were at Fiesta, right? I mean,
Yeah, many years of Fiesta.
I don't even know what year that
Oh,
was.
they all like going to one day. I think it was 15 years, but it was one day.
One day.
In my head, it's one Fiesta. Yeah, you're right. We probably did 15 years of Fiestas. Yeah.
And there were different theme fiestas, which I think is the only way I separated in my mind. You know, Fiesta Gone Wild or Shark Week.
Yep,
We did Shark Week.
That was a good one. Shark Week Fiesta.
We did
Camo Fiesta.
Camo Fiesta.
Yeah,
It was it was a naval assault.
Yeah.
We did that one as Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
That one was awesome.
There was ham and cheese. I don't know if you remember.
Ham and cheese.
Ham and cheese Fiesta.
That guy lost his hand.
Yeah, we had a potato gun, and we ran out of potatoes. And it was this big, long PVC tube, and they would spray. By the way, don't do this at home.
Don't do this at home.
They would spray this hair spray in the tube, and then the dude would put the cap on it, and then he'd hit it like a grill lighter thing with a little red button.
Oh, yeah,
and it would blow the potato up in the air.
Right.
So we ran out of potatoes, but we really planned well. We had like 20 ham and cheese subs.
And that's from my other friend Joey. He took orders from everybody. Like, I'll have this one. He'll have 32 ham and cheese sandwiches.
All ham and cheese. The ordering the Italians and the chicken palms and all that didn't happen. We got 32 ham and cheese subs with lots of mustard. I didn't know there was mustard on it.
Yeah, there was mustard.
But I figured it out when we ran out of potatoes. They started cutting the ham and cheeses, dunking them in water, and then sticking them in the potato gun.
Right.
And then, boom, they would blow the potato gun, and the ham and cheese would float down.
It was like land on people, like a piece of cheese.
Ham and mustard landed on me. But then the kid actually blew his hand.
The second day we weren't there. Yeah, the second day he blew his hand off using the potato cannon. That's why potato cannon's bad. But we met even before that. I remember it was a few years before that because you were on a different boat. You weren't even on our boat. You were on a different boat at the time, and we had the ice luge on our boat.
That must have been the morning.
That must have been the morning.
Oh, one day for me. I don't remember.
Yeah, you were like still at school. You had BC High or something, Boston College at the time.
Yeah.
Because I remember we used to go down for the football games, the Eagles games. Yeah. And,
talking years ago, Brian.
Oh yeah, and this is with Sydney.
Sydney Andrews, my roommate.
Yeah, who actually I became friends with. Sid was such a great guy. I actually go out to LA and sleep on his couch too. You know? I'm like, whenever I got some free time, I'm like,
he's the best. He's like a brother.
Oh yeah, he's unbelievable. You know, just one of those steady eddies. Yeah, that's what I call him. You know? He's always there.
Yeah, we call him the bug zapper because
the bug zapper.
I always had to rely on my personality to meet people and meet women. And
his skills.
This kid's so good looking, but he can't say a word. He doesn't need to say a word. Yeah. The girls just go. I spent a lifetime of going in these like dance halls and like tapping a girl, and she'd look at you, and you'd have to do a funny line, like a one-liner. This kid would have girls coming over and tapping him, and the girl would just be there like dumb, like staring at him, and he would like do something like that, and it was shocking. Shocking. I didn't realize it went both ways. Where women were actually attracted to men. I had no idea till Sydney Andrews. But you got to put them on this thing sometime.
So we had a lot of friends like all over the country, and the way they just pinwheeled. I mean, I've known these guys since they were in college. You know, coming back, and I woke up in Derek's old house one day in Gloucester, and it's right on the edge of the water and perfect fishing right there on the jetty. You had the yacht club right there. Yeah. Where you had your first drink, right? I actually did a movie there where you did your first drink. I sent him the pictures. He's like, dude, that's like my spot. It's where I grew up. And I go, yeah, it's really weird. We're filming a movie, a German movie, like at your old
Oh, I
house.
forgot about that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And I was, I literally had to call you, and I go, I feel really weird. I'm on the same land as where your old house was.
Yeah.
You know, like right there. You know, and I ended up there one night on Fiesta. My friend Derek Small knew these guys, and we ended up at his house. And this is after drinking all day. I don't know what happened. I woke up in a strange place, and Derek comes up in the morning. He goes, "Hey, what are we doing for breakfast?"
Yeah.
You know, Sailor Stands, you know, came into play there, and that'd be the big thing. And
So important in the morning.
Yeah.
Breakfast to me is something very important.
yeah. Well, you know, I mean, you spent that time there, but it's also Gloucester is famous for fishing, and you know some of the, and we both know Stevie Corbett.
Stevie Corbett,
being like one of the #1 fishermen in that area, but like growing up in the Blessing of the Fleet, and if you didn't know about what Fiesta is, the Blessing of the Fleet, to make sure they have a safe year on the because it's the Atlantic Ocean. It's not the Pacific.
Yeah.
Pacific, Pacify. Atlantic is not a nice ocean. It does get pretty wicked in October, and they got a nor'easter going on up there right now.
Right now,
you know that?
right today. Right today.
Answer the guys up in the
Gloucester
Northeast.
fishermen.
Yeah. We're
we
down
go.
here in Tampa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I grew up in Gloucester. My father moved us there. I was on Eastern Point.
Right.
I got a lobster boat when I was really young, and it was like I think it was called a summer's license, and I had 50 traps.
Wow. That's a lot. So you get 5.
50
if
traps,
you're
yeah.
non-commercial, you get 5.
Yeah.
But 50 traps is a lot of traps
50
to pull.
traps. I probably had more like 100, you know, but
Yeah.
licensed for 50. I ended up making friends with this townie kid. I say townie because I lived on Eastern Point. It was kind of like a wealthy area of Gloucester.
Right.
And but one of my best friends, Joey was always a best friend, but Stevie Corbett was like going way, way back.
Right.
And everybody calls him Steve, but I call him Stevie.
Givey Steve.
Yeah, like people have known forever. His mom calls him Stevie, but I think I call him Stevie. It's Skivvy's because he wore underwear one time.
Well, he wears Hanes Fruit of the Loom. We
We
wear
learned-
boxers now as men.
We learned this because the kid was in a hotel with us and he wanted to go to the bathroom at 2 a.m. So he went out the door to go to the bathroom, into the bathroom, and he found out that wasn't the bathroom door. That was the hallway door. And he walked out in his skivvies.
Tidy
And-
whities, yeah.
Tidy whities. Imagine that, right? You go in to take a pee, your eyes are closed, you open the door, it slams behind you. Now you're in the middle of the hall.
Yeah.
And
The bright lights on
yeah,
you.
it was absolutely. So he called him Skivvy Corbett since that day. But Stevie, good friend of mine, close friend, I hired him as a young boy. I was probably like 12, 13 years
Yeah.
old. And I had a boat before I had a car.
Right.
And I had a little Lund aluminum boat, you know, sit in the back with a 25 horse. And Stevie would be up front, and he would be the guy that did all the work. I would drive the
Yeah,
boat.
he'd hoist
he
up the
he would
traps,
hoist
yeah.
by hand. And if you saw this guy's mitts, they're
Thumbs.
they're
Thumbs, that's another one of his
scary,
mitts.
scary
Exactly.
hands. And strong as an ox, and he would lift those traps.
I know.
And we did that every summer. So,
Yeah.
and I would sneak out and be chasing girls. He'd be sneaking out and chasing bluefish.
Oh, yeah. No, his hands are like leather.
Yeah.
And when you shake his hands, you're like, wow.
Absolutely.
This is the guy where there's more salt in his body than I think blood. You know what I'm saying? He
Yeah.
literally grew up, and you
Absolutely.
grew up on the water,
Yeah.
fishing, hunting, and doing that sort of thing where like, I mean, I did it on the South Shore, but we were recreational. Like we were going out on a little sailboat and going to a little island and cooking cheeseburgers. You know, like
Yeah,
we weren't-
no,
we
Stevie's
weren't
like
working.
people watching probably know Wicked Tuna.
Yeah.
The guys on Wicked Tuna respect guys like Steve Corbett. You know, Stevie Corbett might not have the personality to be on a show like that. You know, I love the guy, but he's not going to be sitting there getting drunk and falling off the boat or yelling at anybody. He's just a good guy.
And he's
But
real serious about
But
fishing.
he's real serious about fishing, and he actually did the electric harpoon tuna.
Yeah, which you said like only 5% of the people on the planet do
yeah.
this type of fishing. And we went out with them, and it's like he gave us a card of like, hey, this is your duties on the boat. We want you up in the crow's nest thing up there, you know, looking for like the breach of the tuna. We want you two guys in front holding the harpoon so you can thrust it into the fish and then electrocute it. And then we need 2 guys on the back just spotting. So like you had 5 guys on the boat, but we all had a job. And like Steve was dead serious. He's like, I'm spending money on gas and like we're going out fishing.
Yeah.
You know, we need to catch this tuna. And I reached out to him just recently, but there's times where he goes out 2 or 3 times, he doesn't get anything. But on that 5th time, he'll get like 2 huge tuna.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do they sell for? I mean, they were selling for like 5-10 grand.
It was that way. And again, I'm not really a tuna fisherman nowadays, but I think the price of tuna went way, way down.
Way down.
Yeah. So now these guys are pulling $1,000, $2,000. It's a different world. It used to be like $10,000 when we were younger.
Well, it's because the Japanese too. I mean, like this was going to happen. You can actually put me on this one, but they emptied out that water from Fukushima.
Whoa.
And yeah, well, if you know what Fukushima is,
Whoa.
it's fooked up. It's all fooked up.
What the Fukushima are you talking about?
So yeah, dude, they let out the poison radioactive water.
Okay.
And there was scores and scores of fish dead flowing into the harbor. They didn't know where it's coming from. You release toxic stuff into the ocean, and you don't know where it's coming from. This is when you talk about accountability, in our world looking at it. And then they have these huge die-offs. And I'm telling you right now, the Japanese don't want to eat their own fish. Man. I bet you they'll be importing more tuna.
Oh,
if not, that's
by
the
the way,
angle.
all of our tuna, from what the tuna guys tell me, the good ones always get shipped right away. They go right from the wharf. They'll go right to Logan and they get shipped out to Japan.
Right.
So we're not getting the good tuna here.
Right.
But,
the premium tuna. If these guys, even these restaurateurs, go out to, they're not getting the premium tuna. You get people that are paying a lot more for them, and I think that has to do with the radioactivity.
I don't know about the radioactivity, but
that's how they got Godzilla.
I think it has to do with the money. These guys pay a lot more money for these tuna. And, our fishing guys, growing up in Gloucester, was amazing because I got to meet and hang out with these guys like Stevie.
Right.
I mean, they affected me so much when I went to Boston College and then later to law school. I even wrote one of my papers on, the regulations in fishing and dragger net regulations and how they were actually paying certain guys to not work. So they were paying them, don't drag your boat.
Fish, yeah.
But then what they would do is just change their boat over to like lobstering or something. So I just thought it's so ironic to be hanging out with these dudes that got some payment from the government not to do something. And then they would just use that money to shift their boat to something else. And that might have been the purpose, but it just blew my mind. It blew my mind. So,
well, that's where the legislation comes into play, because legislation can't keep up with the way people can be creative and how they fish and how they make money.
Yeah.
They can't keep up the regulation because they'll change.
Yeah, it just moves them on to a different fishery.
Shift it.
And maybe that was the intent. I wasn't part of the lobbying or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I knew what happened. These guys would get a large payment to not fish a certain industry, and they're fishermen.
That was the Libro got a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And
he would switch to a different fishery, which good for him. I mean, he figured out a system. But that's the type of stuff that affected me. Getting to hang out with these guys, and then I'm going to bring it all the way back to Fiesta.
Right.
These guys would go out fishing. Some of them would go out for a long period of time. Some of them were day guys.
The Outer Banks and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Grand Banks, Outer Banks. That's in what do you call it? I think
the
that's
Grand Banks is the big one.
Grand Banks. Outer Banks, I think, is North Carolina.
North Carolina,
But those guys do stuff like that. But what I was getting back to is we have the blessing of the fleet, and that's what Fiesta is. Right. And it's an odd holiday for us because we take a week off of work, no fishing, and everybody just parties.
Right, let's
but
loose.
we do it in the name of St. Peter, right? So I mean, it's just wild. We're carrying St. Peter statues through the streets. We're putting this 40-foot telephone pole above the water.
Right.
We put grease on it. It's called the Greasy pole.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's the highlight of it. I mean, you get air guitar, you get all this other stuff happening at night. But the highlight is watching these guys that are fishermen run across this fishing pole that's like 30 feet above
breaking ribs.
Seawater.
You might even lose a peanut.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not fun.
Yeah. And that's, we hung out and we were drinking, and I that's where I met you. I would do this every year with this group of guys. Watching that Greasy pole. They would dress up all sorts of funny costumes.
Right. They dress up in costumes, and all the women dress in whites. Mm-hmm. They dress in their best white outfits, and they come out and they celebrate the feast. And they do the fishes, the different dinners. And then they, like you said, they take that certain day, they walk the statue through. Yeah, Sunday. And then the championship Sundays.
Yeah.
So Sundays, the guys
win the pole on a Friday, you get to walk on a Saturday. You win the pole on a Saturday, you get to walk on a Sunday.
Right.
And so Sunday's full of people that have always won it, or you can walk on behalf of one of your relatives that have won it.
Exactly.
So you might have had somebody in 1940 win it. that's in your family, and you can walk on their behalf.
Yeah, you're walking that feeling, and they actually they do that. They have a guy like a guy on the microphone there, saying it over like who they're walking for, and who they are.
Yeah.
Because you really can't. I mean, you can't describe them all coming out in the boat with all their funny outfits and.
Oh, I can, but I'm not sure people nowadays would like the stuff that I remember.
It's a lot
of costumes of guys dressing up like women, but not meaning it to be real.
Right, yeah.
They'd be doing it for funny.
Yeah.
Like there was Superman, or they would do all sorts of stuff.
The funniest one is the guy came out as a La Chica banana girl with big fruit hat.
I've seen it all.
I'm like, what is going on here?
It kind of looks like Halloween. And then all these guys are on a platform, and it's in the middle of the harbor.
Oh, yeah.
And the telephone pole is horizontal, and it has about 9 inches of grease on it. And I guess in the last...
Salvi Benson.
He was the guy. He was awesome in the 60s, but now he greases the pole.
Oh, yeah,
He's out there greasing the pole. And then all the guys have to run, and there's an Italian flag on the end.
Right.
And the whole goal is to get that Italian flag.
Yeah. Well, the one time Salvi Benson fell in the water, and I'm from the South Shore. And he's the guy over there putting the grease on the greasy pole. And I'm like, he's drinking. He's at the same time he's putting the grease on. I'm like, and then he falls in the water. I go, this guy's dead. So I jump in the water like I'm saving him. And then my friends on the boat are like, Salvi Benson. It's like, he don't need any saving.
I'm surprised he didn't walk on the water.
Exactly. They're making fun of me. They're like, Benson, why are you jumping in the water? It's Salvi Benson, you idiot.
Yeah. You don't save Salvi Benson.
But we also know other people in the hunting and fishing world. We actually know one of the largest distributors of lobsters on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a gem walking over. I mean, Joey, or Captain Joe and Sons, and he also runs Good Morning Gloucester, which is a media service up there and in that town. But he's another guy you grew up with.
Yeah.
And he's a young kid.
I was his best man. He was my best man. Because he didn't have a brother. And, I had 2 brothers, but honestly, for some reason I picked Joe. I think because my 2 brothers picked each other for best man, and I was really tight with Joe, and he had picked me for best man. But, I'm very, very tight to this day still with Joe and Steve Corbett.
Yeah.
But Captain Joe and Sons, been around 3 generations.
Right, 3 generations.
Yeah. They've had to reinvent themselves many times.
Yeah, and they dropped off the fish because the fishmongers were being too regulated, so they dropped off doing fish. They end up just doing lobsters.
Yeah, there's a lot of regulation. I think I learned quite a bit about regulation just being around these fisheries, hanging out with these guys. And I think that allowed me to understand the guys in New Hampshire, Vermont, the people that hunted, right? So my connection, the fishing connection and the regulation around the fisheries, and being a guy's guy kind of guy,
yeah.
I think helped me understand some of the hunting guys and what they had to deal with regulation.
Correct.
And, I just, as a guy's guy, I have a respect for fishing and hunting. I think that many people might not have and might not understand how important it is to be able to keep those roots.
Right. Well, I think you're speaking towards the conservation side of it, but also the population control too. Like, I mean, if no one's out there hunting the deer and you take away all the coyotes and all the grizzly bear, and then all you have is black bear chasing them, I mean, their populations explode. So walking around Gloucester, I see wild turkeys all over the place. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. Or we had a rabbit explosion when COVID came along, and there's rabbits all over the place.
I think the wild turkey is from that. It's from that new liquor store.
Yeah. Well, that wild turkey.
Yeah, there's wild turkey everywhere.
That's a little different, But
no,
Joey,
I understand what you're saying. I think I'm not sure I'm even coming at it from a conservation side, although I can respect that. Mm-hmm. There's something just inherent in us, the fishing and hunting that I find very. I don't even know if I can get the words right. But something inside of us.
It's human. If you hunt and fish before we were like the farmer gatherers and settled in villages, that's what we did.
Yeah.
You needed 5,000 acres for every human to feed, and we hunted and gathered for centuries.
Yeah. I can understand people having issues with it, but if they haven't done it or grown up around it, they shouldn't really judge people that do this and have done it all their lives, and
Well,
you
what do
got to
they
walk
eat?
in their
Yeah,
shoes.
Yeah,
You know?
but what do they eat?
Well,
They go to
that's what we
restaurants, they
find
go to
so
fish.
funny.
It's like bizarre. It's like,
Yeah.
so how are you against this? You know, but you don't understand the conversation. You know, conserving these environments and protecting them, and fishing to a certain amount or hunting to a certain amount. They don't even understand that matrix. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, and even like now we have the technology to farm raise fish,
Yeah.
which is weird because Iceland, you can get fish that are raised in these giant things, spheres outside the water.
Yeah.
And they raise fish out
Yeah.
in the ocean. It's like, and we don't have that yet. You know, it's like you look at the conservation, look at this, but we don't look at how to farm it, and we don't really farm. And then Joey, who our good friend is in with the lobsters, they need that colder water. I don't know if you guys know this, but lobsters need that colder, darker water. And now they're moving more to the north. And I don't know if you're aware of this. We actually have one of the greatest white shark populations on the planet off the Cape Cod now because the seals have moved up. The seals have actually moved up and now settled in the Cape.
Yeah.
And what do you think is going to follow the seals?
You know, it used to be a joke when we were growing up and Jaws was filmed on the Cape.
We had a shark-themed Fiesta.
Yeah, yeah. And nowadays it's a real thing.
Yeah.
You know, the sharks have come down that way. But, you know, there's a lot to learn about fishing regulation and hunting regulations. And I think you have to understand the type of person that does it and that's been
Right.
doing it for their whole lives and how organic it is to them.
Right, right.
You know, and I'm
part of it.
not saying they're going out there and killing things to just kill it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're feeding people, and they're keeping with their roots.
Right, right. Well, Joey, it's tradition. It's handed down to 3 generations. He went to business school, right? He went to school to get into business, and
Yeah.
he just ran Captain Joe and Sons. He's like,
Yeah.
why'd you even spend 4 years at college?
Yeah.
You already had a job. You know, it's like he wasn't going anywhere.
I remember when I was a kid going in there, his father, you know, God rest his soul, Libby, who's passed away a while ago, but you know, they would razz Libby about sending Joey to Bentley College.
Yeah.
Because they're like, what the hell? He's gonna
He's
be
to one
running
of the
this
best
place.
colleges
Yeah.
in the country
Yeah.
for economics, you know what I'm saying, and business. And he went to it, and he came back and worked Captain Joe and Sons.
But I think it's paid off. I mean, he's done a great job,
Totally
not
paid
only
off.
at Captain Joe and Sons, reinventing that place,
Sure.
but he's also done Good Morning Gloucester, which is very popular. The people in
Right.
Gloucester
Oh, yeah.
love to watch his blog. They love to watch his show.
Yeah.
He gets up so early in the morning to be on the docks that he takes
Right.
pictures, and people want to see what these seagulls
Right.
look like at 5 in the morning.
Right. They're
and
getting
what the
bait,
fish
they're
looks like.
loading up, you know, they're getting their traps going. So he goes back to, you know, that's hunting sea beetles and stuff. And I hear we can do that down here in Florida. We can also hunt lobster down here. But it's a different type of lobster. It only has a tail, no claws.
Yeah, I'm hoping you guys get a chance to
Yeah.
to do that because I hear quite a bit about lobstering here. And what's so wild is I grew up as a lobster man. You
The
know,
lobster capital.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And but we're talking when you're lobstering in New England, you're doing it out of traps. You're putting a buoy here. It goes down
Right.
a line, a rope down to a trap, and then it goes down to another trap, another
Right.
trap, another trap, and then a line up. If one of the buoys gets hit, you still have all your gear.
Right.
That's completely different from what you'll see in Miami or
Right.
out in the Keys. They go tickle lobsters. They
tickle
I
lobsters?
couldn't believe it.
Can someone explain how you tickle lobster?
Lobster swims backwards, right? So they go and they have a tickle stick, and the damn lobster swims, and their
tickle
lobsters
stick.
look funny. They don't have any claws, right?
Right, yeah.
But they go
I
and
don't know how that works.
they're diving, and they're tickling lobsters out of holes. They swim backwards into their net,
Yeah.
and a whole different type of species in a sense.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if I'm using that word right, but it looks different.
Right, yeah. It definitely
It
looks different, yeah.
Doesn't have the arms, doesn't taste the same, but man, is that fun! And I hope you guys
yeah.
get a chance
I
to
hope so.
go there and in the Keys and figure out what lobstering is for the people in Florida.
Well,
Totally different from growing up in New England.
Let's talk about that. I mean, so how do you go fishing these days? I heard
Yeah.
you might have something. I mean, he's had boats. He had the little tin boat. So you worked up a little bit.
Yeah.
You might have something else that we might be able to go on. Hopefully,
That's a boat. Let me think. A boat. I think I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about damn lucky.
Damn lucky.
Damn lucky. I don't know if I'd call it a boat. but it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I've been using that thing for a couple of years now. It's kind of like a second home, but it's a lot different than the boats I've had in the past.
Is it made down in the Key West too, or Key Largo or something like
It's
that?
actually made here in Largo, Florida. It's an Intrepid. Yeah. So it's called a 475 Intrepid. It's 48 feet long. It's got
48 feet.
Yeah.
Did you guys just pick up that 48-foot long fishing boat?
It's got quad 425s. So a lot of you conservationists, that's right, I'm feeling guilty. Conservationists might not enjoy the 1800 horsepower, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a monster, man, and I had to learn quite a bit about boats in order to buy this Intrepid or find this Intrepid.
Yeah,
it's a really long story, but
I want to go on this boat.
I've had I've had whalers. I've had everything. Boston whalers been my favorites.
Right. Which are made in New England. Boston whalers are made from that area.
Yeah. Eventually sold, and now they're made down here. But whalers. Some of my favorites. There's so many great boats out there. Everybody, but a lot of people will compare boats to whalers. Right. Whalers are just made very heavy, and everything on them is incredibly made well. So the cleats are huge. Yeah. All the little ins and outs of this boat on a whaler is made very strong and heavy.
Right. Because New England weather.
Absolutely. And there's other similar boats to whalers that are made that well.
Yeah.
Intrepids are done a little bit lighter, and they're more of like a Bahama or Florida type boat.
Well, the water is very close to the ground, is what we're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. You're talking about like the shelf and everything. It's really close. It's not like Boston. You go to Boston and you right off the edge.
Yeah, so like all my buddies in Gloucester, they're going to want, some of them have wood boats, some of them have fiberglass, but they're usually going to want a diesel engine. They're going to want an inboard. Right. They do that for gas mileage, and they don't have to worry about hitting the bottom.
Right.
In Florida, we're all about being able to have outboard engines. Yeah. And we want to be able to get close up to a beach, We want to be able to tilt those engines so we can get in like 2 or 3 feet of water.
Right, you want to insert somewhere on a smaller island. Like maybe we can do that too. Maybe we can insert somewhere on a smaller island.
Absolutely.
Do you have an island out there that?
Oh, we have an island called Egmont Key. Egmont Key. Now my 48-foot boat, right? I can probably get to Egmont Key in like 3 feet of water, 2 feet of water. Wow. I can tilt those 4 engines up. Yeah. Okay, you wouldn't get close to this boat. To this island in a diesel inboard. Mm-hmm. But on this type of Intrepid, I can get there, drop you off. You can walk in, and maybe you guys ton of history on Egmont Key. I mean, if you look at Egmont Key and Fort DeSoto, they protected the Tampa Bay area for 200 years. I'm not a history major here, but
there was never any real pirates in Tampa, though. Just to let you know.
Really? I'm shocked by that. Gasparilla. We have a whole Gasparilla. The whole place loves
Gasparilla, and the whole thing was celebrated about. But I don't know if that's the case. I've heard different stories.
I know where his treasure's buried, Brian. So, don't give me that. No. So Egmont Key and Fort DeSoto, my understanding is that the military back 100 years ago, whatever, had a wire, and they were able to protect the harbor by having these bombs on the wire between Egmont Key and Fort DeSoto. So, and that was the only way to get in this enormous bay. Right. So this enormous bay that we're in, Tampa Bay area,
protected.
So there's a military strategic reason why we're sitting actually right here today. And that's because Tampa Bay is being protected by Egmont Key and Fort DeSoto 150 years ago by our military. They could find, if any boat was going to come in, they were going to be able to stop it through this believe it or not, small area where the big boats come in. Now cruise ships come in that
totally
same
different.
exact way.
People going up for a different ride.
Yeah.
You weren't what's it called when someone bags you and throws you on a ship and puts you to work? Shanghai, is it called?
Yeah, it is called Shanghai.
Is it Shanghai?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
They used to capture people from different parts of the world and put them on a boat, and then they would make them work as labor.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, they didn't make it. But, I mean, when you think about ports coming in, the War of 1812, What happened then? They burnt down Washington, right?
Yeah.
Those boats, the British Navy was a lot bigger than ours at the time. They came right in and just burned it down. So we don't even think like that. You know, we're like.
Well, I'll tell you another funny thing that happened to me. You know, being a New England boy, growing up completely New England. Went to school, college, law school, everything in New England.
Yeah.
So I get down here and I go to this place called the Red Dog, right? If you get a chance, go into the Red Dog. Because the Red Dog's like, it's so like a local joint that you guys would, as a tourist, you would never go to the Red Dog.
Well, I know, and I can't fib this one. We go to the Red Dog. Like when I first came down, you were like, hey, you know, there's a lot of great restaurants.
You only go because I brought it.
Exactly.
Nobody goes to the Red Dog. Unless they live in Tampa, and then everybody goes to the Red Dog.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the story goes like this. I'm at I'm a new guy in Tampa. I pull into this bar. All my neighbors, we're all around the same age, all these guys having kids, and we walk up to this local bar called the Red Dog. We get into the bar. I sit down. I order some scotch or beer or whatever the hell I'm drinking. And the bartender hears my terrible accent. And it's actually this guy named Jeff. And Jeff, who manages the bar, also it could be a bartender there some nights. He says, you know something? I bet you think that the Pilgrims are the first ones to the United States, man. I can tell by your accent. And I said, well, yeah, what the hell are you talking about? Of course. Plymouth Rock, dude. I grew up like down the street. I mean, I feel like I was probably related to somebody on the Mayflower. You know, that's how strong and confident I felt. And this guy, who's a bartender, Jeff, looks at me and goes, dude, you have no idea that, you know, St. Augustine, Florida, has been around a lot longer than Plymouth Rock. Yeah. And I didn't believe him at all. I did not believe this guy at all. I drank all night with him, and he was almost offended that I had no knowledge of St. Augustine. Right. And growing up in New England, we only learned about English history.
Textbook.
Only textbooks, English history. So when I went home, I started researching a little bit about Spanish history and the fact that, my gosh, they were here a lot longer. And I think the reason why New Englanders only talk about Plymouth Rock is we say that it had to be contiguous, like they had to be there the whole time. And St. Augustine people say they were there the whole time. People from New England say that the Spanish weren't there their whole time. But regardless, if you have a chance, you know, that's another great area of Florida.
But why Tampa? Like, I mean, honestly, like I've known you forever, you know, so you moved to Dallas, Texas first. And we did an event down there called Dudes in Dallas. We did St. Patty's Day down there. And so you broke off from your whole family where you're educated and went down to Dallas, but then you came over to Florida.
Yep.
Tell me why people come to Florida and why they migrate to Florida.
Well, that's a great question. So for me, I didn't want to leave Boston. I didn't want to leave my New England town, but I needed work. I was a young guy getting out of law school, and I really was looking hard, couldn't find work. So I wound up going to Dallas, Texas, where it was just growing like crazy. And in Dallas, you know, I actually had my girlfriend, Nikki, at the time, moved down with me. And I loved Dallas, but she didn't. She wanted to be closer to the ocean. And family really weren't visiting us there in Dallas. I would have Brian come.
Yeah, the couch surfer.
Yeah, you would absolutely come. If I told him we have the best chicken wings, I mean, he'd be down there, man. We'd be eating those chicken wings. But honestly, a lot of family didn't come to Dallas. And she convinced me, kind of pushed me that we would start a family and move to Tampa. I had family in Tampa. So I think that happens to a lot of people. As their parents in New England get older, they move down here. That means we're probably visiting them, getting exposed to it, and then understanding the weather in the winter.
Oh, yeah.
The weather in the winter. Yeah. Like right now, we talked about a northeaster being in Gloucester.
And right now, there's one spinning right now, dropping snow.
So our weather's, in the summer, it's very tough. It's hot. Yeah. But in the winter, it's beautiful. It's mild. And I think family moves here. As you get older, you know, I go home now and my knees hurt. Arthritis and stuff kicks in when you're in the cold weather.
Yeah.
You come here, you feel a little better. You can breathe easier. I think some of the dry air at home. So bottom line, older people move here. And then you come visit them.
You moved here because financially you wanted to set up your own shop and work with family and do stuff. Other people move here because of age. But there's so much that you haven't discovered yet in Florida. Like every time I come down, you're like, hey, pitcher, I got this new.
Oh, it changes.
There's this new thing that happened. You got to go see it. Like First Fridays or something like that down in St. Pete or out in Clearwater. I'd love to get out there. Or maybe go to the bait house with you. You keep talking about that place, the drunken
I got to tell you,
shrimp.
Brian, if you get a chance.
Yeah.
And screw, forget that. I was going to use a bad word. Well, I'm taking you to the bait house. And you know what we're going to do?
There it is.
We're going to take the damn lucky and we're going to
Damn
go to the
Lucky.
bait house. And the reason why I think we ought to do this is the drunken shrimp.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know what that is.
I gotta
But
tell you.
I'm gonna agree with him.
I will tell you, they have this crazy thing called the drunken shrimp, and it's more than just food, right? There's something about the ambiance or whatever you want to call it. I'm talking. It's a little dock, right?
Right.
So there's a nice bridge that comes into Clearwater, and almost every tourist goes over it, so they go to the beach.
Right.
There's before you get to that beach, there's a rotary, and then there's a little marina. And when I go to Clearwater, I don't want anything to do with the beach and the tourists. I want to park my boat at that little marina, and I want to walk over and go to this place called the Bait House.
Wow.
And the Bait House is absolutely the coolest thing because once you get off the boat, you basically you go in this place and you get to eat the best food. But it's one of those little places where they're putting dollars stapled on the wall everywhere.
So like locals go there, like locals and fishermen.
Yeah.
Now, we've been to Clearwater together before. We go to Shepherd's and hang out there, with our friend Sydney and with his uncle Paul. You know what I'm saying? We go there, but like you'll end up staying down that area. And like, I'd love to see what the Bait House is all about.
Bait House is a very special place for boaters. I think we like to pull up to the dock there and get the best food.
Yeah.
And you'll see. You sit right at the dock, and the water's right there. You have to walk through an actual bait house to get to it.
Yeah, I don't know if we should say everything. I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff you're talking about. Well, Derek, I can't thank you enough, man, for the invite and the hospitality, and I think we should hit a few of these things that you talk about because you've never been wrong yet. Decades later, he's always finding fun stuff to do. So I don't know. Either find fun stuff to do or I'm not coming down.
Well,
right.
To be honest, before I think we do all this, I should get you to Ebor City.
Ybor City.
Ybor City, I'm a huge cigar guy. I like to have a little bit of drink and a cigar. And I think to start a Tampa trip, you really got to see Ybor City first. That's where it all started.
And you told me about a new place called the Grand Cathedral that now sells cigars too. I have to go to.
Absolutely.
You're saying it's a must. And someone was saying it was the best cigar place on the planet.
I think you could argue it is the best cigar place on the planet. It's a church that has been retrofitted or whatever the heck you want to call it now to be a cigar bar. And it's there's members only upstairs, but we'll get in. Downstairs is public. Hopefully I'll get a chance to meet you, to introduce you to the manager there.
Yeah.
But I think we have to see the cathedral. You have to see Ybor City, and then we'll get on the boat, and then I'd like to take you over to Clearwater.
Wow.
And maybe, just maybe, we'll get a glimpse of the Don Cesar, which is a beautiful, beautiful area.
Well, so. I don't think, you know what, we've done so much talking here tonight with Derek, and he is from Tampa in the sense, like you've been here for, what, a decade now?
20 years.
20 years? Yeah. That's how much time flies. So 20 years, this is from a guy from Tampa, and this is from the horse's mouth. Different places we should go and what we should do here in Tampa. And talk about a lucky ticket that I scratched. They said they wanted to start a show.
777s,
Florida. Nothing but 777s. I love you, man.
I love you too, pal.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.